Welcome to the Strategy Sync YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like to hear new book summaries.
And today, we're really jumping into something that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people.
Absolutely. We are doing a deep dive into Mel Robbins' revolutionary book, The Let Them Theory.
And this is just, it's such a crucial read for anyone who feels mentally exhausted. The book doesn't give you some complex, 10-step philosophy. It provides an incredibly simple, yet, profoundly powerful two-word framework. It's designed specifically to liberate you from that constant draining cycle of worrying about trying to control.
Or just desperately managing other people's actions, their opinions, their ever-shifting moods. It's exhausting.
It is. It's a total energy sink.
And that's our mission right here, right now. We are going to extract the most potent, the most actionable nuggets from this book and hand them directly to you.
Right.
Our goal is to give you the practical tools you need to, immediately start reclaiming that lost energy, to drastically reduce the baseline stress you carry around every day.
And maybe the most important part really is overcoming that deep-seated paralysis.
That's it, that feeling of paralysis that comes from feeling overly scrutinized or just weighed down by the judgment and expectations of everyone around you.
And for anyone who's followed Mel Robbins' work, this book is it's the natural, necessary next step. Her first big breakthrough, the 5-second rule, that was all about defeating your internal hesitation.
Right, that little window between instinct and fear.
Exactly. That moment your brain just slams on the brakes.
Okay.
But the Let Them theory tackles the major obstacle that shows up right after you've mastered that inner battle.
Which is the external resistance.
The external resistance. It's a huge hidden energy suck. We often don't even realize how much of our mental bandwidth is dedicated to performing for, anticipating, or just reacting to other people.
It's astonishing when you really stop to think about it.
It is. The central conflict Robbins addresses is universal because we're social creatures. We spend vast amounts of time, physical energy, and emotional capital trying to manage situations that are, by definition, completely unmanageable.
Other people's choices.
Their choices, their moods, their judgments. And this constant struggle just diverts all those precious resources away from the one thing we actually have total control over.
Ourselves. Our actions, our response.
Exactly. So we promise a thorough, detailed exploration of how this simple framework, Let Them, and its absolutely essential other half, Let Me, can profoundly transform your relationships, sharpen your career focus, and just fundamentally improve your daily peace of mind.
So let's unpack this.
Yeah.
We have to start where the author began her entire journey, at her personal rock bottom, because that's the foundation for all of these insights.
Right. To really get the genesis of the Let Them theory, you have to look back at the intense necessity that drove her first big discovery. The book details this profound personal crisis Robbins faced in her early 40s.
And the numbers are just staggering.
They are. She was $800,000 in debt, she was unemployed, and her husband's big dream, his restaurant business, was failing, just catastrophically.
Wow.
She felt completely lost, consumed by this feeling that nothing she did would ever be enough to dig their family out of this hole.
And her career up to that point, it wasn't some straight shot to success. It was a history of pivots that, hadn't quite landed.
Not at all. She'd been a public defender for the Legal Aid Society in New York, then a lawyer at a big firm in Boston. She tried business development at an ad agency, worked for a few startups.
She became a life coach, hosted a radio show, and then she even opened a paint-your-own pottery studio.
Right. It shows she was constantly searching, trying, succeeding for a minute, and then sinking again. That kind of volatility, it just feeds anxiety.
And that anxiety leads to avoidance.
Exactly. The primary coping mechanism she fell into was pure avoidance, which is the enemy of change. And her list of avoidance strategies is so relatable.
Oh, yeah. Hitting the snooze button over and over to avoid the day.
Using alcohol to numb the pain of her reality. Blaming her husband to avoid her own responsibility.
And procrastinating on those simple but, monumental tasks.
Yeah.
Opening the bills. Actively looking for a job.
It was like her entire life was built around avoiding reality. Simple things, getting out of bed, being present with her family, cooking dinner, they all become these unscalable mountains when you're consumed by that level of fear.
So that leads us to the morning that changed everything.
It does. She's lying in bed, she sees a NASA rocket launch on TV, and something just clicks. She realized, I know exactly what I need to do. Get up, open the bills, network, make a budget.
But she was completely paralyzed. The stress, the overthinking, the excuses in her own head were just a wall.
And that's where the revelation happened. The idea wasn't to feel better first. The idea was to interrupt the cycle of overthinking and fear by forcing immediate physical action.
Which is where the 5-second rule was born.
That's it. It came from this really simple, pragmatic realization. Wait a minute, I can feel horrible, anxious, and unprepared and still do what I need to do.
The feeling doesn't have to be the gatekeeper to the action.
Precisely. It's a psychological trick, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, that works by forcing you to move your body before your brain's fear center, the amygdala, can shut you down.
And let's get a little technical here, because that 5-second window is so important, it's not arbitrary.
No, not at all. Behavioral science tells us that the gap between having an instinct, like I should speak up in this meeting, and your brain generating all the reasons not to, that gap is usually less than 5 seconds.
So by counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're actually hijacking your own brain.
You're activating your prefrontal cortex, the logic, planning, willful action part of your brain, and forcing it to take charge. If you wait any longer, the emotional survival brain, the amygdala, floods you with cortisol, with excuses, with fear, and you just default back to comfort.
So the core lesson is just pure pragmatism. Action is the answer. Don't wait to feel motivated.
Never. She says if you wait to feel motivated, you will never start the hard, scary things. You have to save yourself by forcing those small, consistent moves every single day, no matter how you feel.
And the book makes it so clear that this was a grind. It wasn't some glamorous overnight fix.
Not at all. It was forcing herself out of bed thousands of mornings when she didn't feel like it. The rule works because it helps you win that internal battle against your own excuses and your own anxiety.
And the impact was just, it was staggering, especially when you think about her own imposter syndrome. She was so reluctant to even share it.
She was. She thought, who am I to give advice? I nearly destroyed my own life. But she shared it at a TEDx conference, and it just went viral, became one of the most watched talks in the world.
And the outcomes people reported were life-altering.
Truly. People using that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown to push through fear, to change toxic jobs, launch businesses, get sober, huge physical health transformations.
And it wasn't just for self-help. The book talks about medical professionals using it clinically for anxiety, PTSD, OCD, depression.
And, this is the most moving part for me. Over 1,000 people reported using the rule in a life or death moment to interrupt the impulse to attempt suicide and instead force themselves to get help.
Wow.
So that success just solidifies her foundational conclusion. Small, consistent action changes everything. It's how she built her own success by mastering that skill of unglamorous action, even when she was terrified.
Okay, so that's the solution to the internal battle. But conquering your own procrastination, that's only half the story. What happens when you win that battle only to run smack into a wall of external resistance?
And that is the crucial pivot point. This is where the let them theory comes from. You've used the 5-second rule. You forced yourself out of bed. You sent the scary email. You started exercising. You won the inner battle.
But that doesn't stop the traffic jam.
It doesn't stop the traffic jam. It doesn't stop your micromanaging boss. It doesn't stop the inconsiderate stranger at the store or the endless judgment and emotional demands from your family.
That had to be so frustrating for her, to do all that work on herself and still feel like she was constantly forcing herself forward, still feeling that fear of failure.
She asked that exact question. Why is it still so hard? Why is it hard to ask for what I need or set a boundary or just live my life without feeling judged? And the answer she found was so simple it was almost shocking.
The obstacle was other people.
Other people, or, to be more precise, the massive amount of energy she was spending trying to manage what they do, what they say, what they think, and what they expect from her.
It's that deep-seated belief we all have, isn't it? That if we just act perfectly, if we say the right thing, if we cater to everyone's moods,
that somehow we'll finally achieve peace. But the book argues the exact opposite is true. That effort only leads to emotional exhaustion, tension, and just shrinking yourself smaller and smaller to fit into everyone else's mold.
So this brings us to the framework itself, the let them theory.
2 simple words that she says provide immediate freedom from that crushing burden of trying to manage everyone else. It's a mechanism that forces you to reallocate your time, your energy, your happiness back onto the one thing you can actually influence.
You.
And the transformative part, which is so counterintuitive, is that the moment you let go of trying to manage the external world, you realize just how much power you actually had all along. You've just been giving it away.
And I love that the breakthrough for this huge concept came from just pure parental domestic chaos.
A high school prom. It's perfect. It shows that these huge insights often find us in the most mundane, stressful moments.
So set the scene for us. It's her son Oakley's prom.
Yes, and she'd already successfully navigated 4 proms with her daughters, which were, planned with military precision for months, so she thinks she's an expert.
Which is always the setup for a fall.
Always. Oakley decides to go at the last minute, so it's this mad scramble for a tux, specific sneakers, a date, the whole thing in 48 hours. She's already on edge.
And then on the day of the prom, it just gets worse.
It escalates. First, the corsage. She spends all this time making a beautiful corsage, even though Oakley keeps saying his date doesn't want one. She insists, brings it, and of course the date is already wearing one she made herself.
Ooh, the classic I should have just listened moment.
A huge trigger. But then the real chaos hits. She overhears the group of 20 kids at the pre-prom photos saying, "So what are we doing for dinner?" and realizes they have no reservation.
And she goes straight into control mode.
Full-on control mode. Frantically searching her phone for a restaurant for 20 teenagers, getting annoyed, internally judging everyone. Why wasn't this handled like my daughter's proms? She's yelling out to other parents, just completely stressed out.
And this is the moment her daughter Kendall steps in.
Kendall pulls her aside and delivers the 3 phrases that built this whole theory. She just says, "Mom, if Oakley and his friends want to go to a taco bar for pre-prom, let them."
And you can almost feel the air go out of the balloon.
Instantly. But it gets better. As she's saying this, the sky just opens up in this torrential downpour, and Kendall finishes the mantra. Let them get soaked. Let them get ruined.
Wow.
And she said the effect was immediate. Physical and emotional relief. The tension just drained out of her shoulders. The stress of trying to control the uncontrollable, it disappeared. She realized that worrying about them, their ruined sneakers, their dinner choice, was a catastrophic waste of her time.
And so she just let it go.
Completely. She walked up to Oakley, handed him money for the taco bar, wished him a great prom, and then watched them all run out into the pouring rain, laughing, splashing mud on their clothes, and she realized she genuinely didn't care.
She describes it as feeling weirdly above it all.
Right. All that brain space that was usually filled with dumb worries and manufactured drama was suddenly free. It was a true moment of self-liberation, just by detaching her emotional state from external events she couldn't control.
Okay, so that shifts us into deconstructing the theory itself. Because it's not just let them. There's this crucial second part.
Exactly. The fundamental problem is our ingrained belief that we can somehow manage or manipulate other people's opinions or moods.
We think if we just work hard enough or are perfect enough, we can stop the criticism.
But the book stresses the harder you work and the more you bend, the more critical people get, or the more exhausted you become. Someone is always going to be disappointed.
The core belief she wants you to internalize is that the more you allow other people to just be who they are, feel what they feel, think what they think, the better your life gets.
And we see this tested immediately in the book with the girl's weekend story. She's scrolling social media, sees photos of this amazing trip, and realizes she knows every single woman in the photo. Her friends went away without her.
That is the ultimate social media gut punch. She describes the immediate reaction. Just a flood of rejection, insecurity, confusion. Why wasn't I included?
It transports you right back to middle school. And her old reaction would have been to go into stalker mode, obsess over the photos, make them into villains, or immediately try to fix it by texting someone to manage her own discomfort.
Which only makes the anxiety worse.
It amplifies it. But this time she deployed the theory. And she says she had to literally repeat "let them" over and over again for like 10 minutes because the hurt doesn't just vanish. It's a way of forcing her logical brain to interrupt that fear response.
And this internal struggle is where she introduces this great visual model, the seesaw analogy.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way to illustrate the journey from feeling powerless to finding balance.
So let's break down the 3 stages. Stage A, without let them. This is where most of us live.
This is you on the ground with the other person or group way up high. You've internalized their actions, made yourself the victim. The emotions are all inferiority, jealousy, insecurity, feeling left out. You've given them all the power over how you feel.
Okay, then stage B, this is when you start using with only let them.
Right. And this is a temporary stage that feels good, but it's not the goal. Saying let them helps you mentally rise above those heavy emotions. It gives you a sense of superiority, detachment, judgment. You feel wiser because you're not the victim anymore.
But she warns this is a trap.
A huge trap.
Yeah.
If you stop at only let them, you become isolated. You might withdraw, gossip, or just sit in that false superiority without taking any real productive action. It's judgment without responsibility.
Which is why the second half is so essential. Let me.
Yes. Stage C, the full theory, let them plus let me. This is what brings true balance back to the seesaw. It moves you past superiority into acceptance, understanding, compassion, responsibility, and true control.
Let me immediately redirects the focus from what you can't control to what you can. Your attitude, your behavior, your values, your needs.
It's radical self-awareness. So applying it back to that friend trip, she used the mental space she created with let them to look in the mirror and ask, what is my part in this?
And she realized she'd been so busy with work that she hadn't proactively invested in those friendships. She hadn't reached out or planned anything.
The key question then becomes, whose responsibility is it to create the life you want?
And the adult realization is, it's yours. Your happiness, your health, your social life, your success, it's all on you. Anytime you spend blaming others or waiting for an invitation to magically appear is just wasted time.
It's a tough concept, but it's liberating. Stop waiting for someone to come rescue you, fix your problems, or motivate you. No one is coming. Your let me era is here. You are fully capable of creating what you want.
Okay, let's move into how this applies in everyday life, starting with managing chronic stress. It's so easy to let minor things, a long line, traffic, a slow cashier, just ruin your whole mood.
And we have to understand what's happening in your body when you let those things take over. The book touches on the neurology of it, and it's so important.
Right.
When you feel stressed, your highly functional prefrontal cortex, your logic, planning, problem-solving center, it literally loses control. The survival-focused amygdala takes over, triggering that fight, flight, or freeze response.
And when you're in survival mode, your higher functions just go right out the window. You physically cannot be your best, most patient, most effective self.
And this is perfectly demonstrated in the coughing passenger anecdote. She's on a plane, about to give a huge speech, and the guy behind her is just coughing, open mouth, over and over.
And she's immediately spiraling. Annoyance turns into anger and fear about getting sick.
Her first instincts were all about trying to control him. Passive-aggressive huffing. Useless. Politely asking him to cover his mouth. He nods, then keeps doing it. She's furious. She can't work. And this stranger has total control over her emotional state.
So she had to make the shift.
She had to. She realized, I cannot control this stranger coughing. I must cough. Let them cough. What I can't control is my response. Let me protect myself.
And the solution was so simple.
So simple. She covered her nose and mouth with her scarf and put on noise-canceling headphones. Problem solved. Instantly. In the past, that would have been a 4-hour spiral of complaining and drained energy. But by focusing only on her own actions, she stayed in control.
Let's apply that to a common career problem. The book uses the example of Boss Steve. You've done the work, you've asked for the raise, but you're just stuck waiting for a promotion that never seems to come.
Right. At this point, the external environment, Steve's decision, company politics, is totally uncontrollable. You have to let them string you along, but you cannot let the stress of waiting make you stupid by staying paralyzed.
And the natural reaction is to get spiteful, right? To slow down your work because you feel unappreciated, but that only hurts you.
It only hurts you. You're sacrificing your own future to try and punish a boss who probably won't even notice. The let me solution is to stop fixating on the current job and pour all that energy into finding a better one.
Update your resume, start networking, take interviews.
Exactly. If you stay miserable and wait for Steve to decide your worth, he controls your future. If you start aggressively looking for a new job, you control it. It's acting as if you have the power, because you do.
Okay, let's move to the next big application. Defeating that crippling fear of other people's opinions. This is maybe the biggest thing that holds people back.
It's a huge silent problem. It causes procrastination, self-doubt, perfectionism. We hold ourselves prisoner to what we imagine other people might think.
And the book just lays out the brutal, simple truth. People will have negative opinions about you, and you can do absolutely nothing to change that fact.
You have to give them the freedom to think whatever they want. And the author's own struggle with this is such a painful, perfect example. Her paralysis around marketing her speaking career early on.
She knew what to do, build a website, get testimonials, post online, but she was terrified of what her friends and family would think.
She could hear their voices in her head. Who does she think she is? What a phony. And this fear caused total self-sabotage. She'd write hundreds of draft social media posts, trying to craft the perfect one that would guarantee no negative thoughts.
And if she did post, she'd obsessively check for 5 minutes and then just delete it.
The cost was years wasted. years delaying her financial and professional goals because she gave other people's potential opinions more weight than her own future.
It's the ultimate act of self-rejection, really.
It is. So the strategy to break the cycle is to normalize and accept bad thoughts about you. She emphasizes that even the people who love you most, your husband, your kids, they have negative thoughts about you every single day.
Her husband thinks her farts are disgusting. Her daughter thinks she's a control freak.
Right. But they still love her unconditionally. You can be annoyed by someone and still love them to death. So of course, other people are going to judge you and doubt you and roll their eyes. Let them.
The secret isn't to control their thoughts. It's to live your life in a way that makes you proud of yourself.
That is the let me action. Let me make decisions that align with my values. Let me take risks because I want to. When you are proud of yourself, you hold all the power. And that's what liberates you from self-censoring.
This issue gets even more complicated with family, which is the next application. Family opinions can cut so much deeper.
They do, because family members feel like they have a stake in your happiness, and their caring can easily cross the line into control. The book calls family an interconnected system.
Meaning any change you make, a divorce, a career shift, sends these emotional shockwaves through the whole system.
Exactly. They resist your change because it forces them to change their perception of you. And the anecdote about her engagement to her husband, Chris, is so powerful here. Her mother just couldn't be excited about it.
And for years, that created so much pain and tension.
Until she discovered the frame of reference tool. You have to look at the situation through the other person's past experiences.
And her mother's frame of reference was rooted in her own life. Leaving home at 17, getting pregnant young, raising a family far away from any support system.
But her mother's deepest fear wasn't about Chris as a person. It was that Mel marrying an East Coaster meant she would move away and never come back, repeating the mother's own painful story of isolation.
So it wasn't judgment, it was grief and fear.
Yes. Both of them were right, based on their completely different frames of reference. And understanding that creates space for love and compassion, even when you disagree. Let them see the world through their pain.
That makes the advice for dealing with family so much more pragmatic. It's about understanding that most family members haven't done the inner work.
So you have to accept reality.
Right.
You have to let them be less than what you deserve sometimes. Let your family life not be a fairy tale. You reclaim your power the moment you realize the only person you can change is you.
But I want to challenge that, because acceptance can sound like surrender. How do you accept a difficult family member without letting them walk all over you?
And that's where the let me part becomes the anchor. Acceptance isn't surrender. It means accepting the reality that they are not going to change and then moving to your action.
Yeah.
Let me figure out what kind of relationship I want based on my values.
So you're shifting your motivation from guilt to self-pride.
Precisely. You set your boundary and you set your boundary. Let them react however they choose. Their reaction is their responsibility, not yours.
Let's pivot now to handling those really high-stakes emotional reactions and making hard decisions, especially when you're dealing with emotional immaturity in other adults.
Yeah, the book makes it clear. Adults are often just as emotional as kids. They're just better at hiding it. Emotional immaturity, passive aggression, guilt trips, tantrums, often drives our decisions.
And the danger is that if you let their immaturity dictate your choices, saying yes when you mean no, always walking on eggshells, you will always come last in your own life.
Take the silent treatment. It's a classic immature response. And your instinct is to rush in and fix it, which is exactly what the immature person wants. Control.
So the book offers this powerful visualization tool.
So good. When someone erupts or goes silent, you say, let them. And you visualize the 8-year-old trapped inside their adult body. This immediately replaces your fear or anger with compassion and clarity.
It clarifies that their inability to handle their emotions is not your problem to solve.
You don't negotiate with a tantrum. The mature response, the let me action, is to remove yourself. Set a boundary. I'll talk to you when you're ready to communicate clearly. You have to be the adult in the room.
And this is never more tested than during the hardest decisions, like the wedding dilemma she talks about.
Right. This letter from an engaged person who is just filled with dread, paralyzed by the fear of causing pain, disappointing parents, losing deposits, breaking his fiance's heart.
And the truth is just so painful. The right decision often feels completely wrong because it will inflict pain on other people.
And we so often choose to inflict long-term pain on ourselves, staying in the wrong job, the wrong relationship, just to avoid causing that immediate, temporary emotional upset in others.
So you have to separate yourself from their emotional reaction to make the right choice for your life.
Yes, you have to learn to ride the emotional wave. That discomfort is like an ocean wave. It rises, it crashes, it recedes. A breakup will feel like a hurricane, but you will not drown.
The power is in acceptance. Let them feel angry and heartbroken. If you don't try to control their emotional process, life eventually finds a new normal.
And the final courageous decision is realizing that easier now makes it harder later. Let me do the hard thing that is painful now because it will save me so much more pain down the road.
Okay, and another huge psychological battle, chronic comparison. This habit of letting other people's success paralyze us is just toxic.
It is. The first step is just to accept the truth. Life isn't fair. Some people are dealt a luckier hand. Trust funds, genetics, timing. You have to accept that. Let them have it. Feeling resentful is an insult to your own ability to create your own success.
But then she makes this really critical, actionable distinction between two types of comparison.
Yes. First is fixed comparison. This is pure self-torture, obsessing over things you cannot change in the next 30 seconds. Your height, your bone structure, your sister's metabolism. It's useless. You have to recognize it and just stop. Let them be them.
And then there's the second type, changeable comparison.
And this is where the magic is. This is fuel for inspiration. This is focusing on things you can create through effort. A new job, financial freedom, better habits. She argues 95% of what you want is changeable if you're willing to work.
So you have to reframe jealousy. It's not negative.
It's an invitation from your future self. Other people's success provides the formula. Their wins are not your losses. They expand what's possible. Let them lead the way.
The story about her designer friend Molly is perfect for this. Molly was furious at this less experienced woman who had a better website and social media presence. The very thing Molly had been procrastinating on for years.
Right, and Robbins flips the script. That irritating person is your greatest teacher. That anger is really just frustration with yourself for avoiding the work.
So let them show you exactly what's possible and what you need to be doing. Use that anger as fuel to get moving.
Let's shift back to relationships and talk about adult friendship, which is surprisingly hard for a lot of people. She calls it the great scattering.
Yeah, the automatic structure of childhood is just gone. And our expectations that we'll be friends forever, that we'll always be included, they just set us up for disappointment.
The reality is adult friendships require conscious effort. Let them move away, prioritize new friends, or not text back right away. It's usually not personal.
Which is why she identifies the 3 pillars of friendship. If one of these is missing, the relationship will probably change.
The first is proximity, just how often you're physically near them. The American Times study shows adults spend more time with coworkers than anyone else. That's how critical proximity is.
The second is timing, or your chapter of life. If your life stages are too different, the friendship can only go so deep.
And the third is energy. You either click or you don't, and that energy shifts over time as people grow. If it feels forced, it's draining you.
And she's very honest about her own struggles with this, the cost of insecurity, how she felt replaced when a new couple moved into the neighborhood, and she acted like, in her words, a complete bitch.
She was making the biggest mistake, expecting friendship to be easy and permanent. She turned the new couple into villains instead of taking responsibility for her own insecurity.
So the path forward, the let me action, is about being proactive.
Completely. She tells that great story about being lonely after moving and her daughters literally forcing her to go knock on a stranger's door to introduce herself, even though she felt like a loser doing it.
The key lesson is, let me go first. Stop waiting for the invitation or the book club to magically appear. You have to create the connection yourself, one awkward conversation at a time.
Let's move into the advanced applications now, like how to influence others to change. Everyone asks this question.
And the answer is pretty blunt. You can't. People only change when they feel like it.
All right. The book details 3 psychological truths that explain why pressure always backfires. 1, adults only change when the motivation is internal. Pushing them creates resistance.
2, humans are wired to move toward what feels good now and away from immediate pain.
And 3, this is based on Dr. Talia Sharot's research, the optimism bias. People think they're the exception. Warnings and threats don't apply to them.
So if you can't pressure them, what do? She introduces the ABC loop, but before that, you have to do a self-check.
The 5 whys method. You use it on yourself to find the root of your frustration. Why does my spouse's health bother me? You keep asking why until you get to the core fear. I'm terrified I'll lose him.
And that shifts the focus. You realize it's about your fear and your need to control.
Then you can move to the ABC loop. Step A is apologize, then ask. Apologize for nagging. Then ask an open-ended question like, How are you feeling about your health right now?
The goal is to create internal tension in them, to make them see the disconnect, let them talk, let me listen.
Step B is back off and observe behavior. Give them space. Don't expect immediate action or it becomes a power struggle.
And step C is celebrate progress, model change. Make change look fun for yourself. Celebrate any tiny progress you see in them.
And this leads to the critical distinction between support and rescuing, especially in high-stakes situations like addiction or depression.
The hard truth is people only heal when they're ready to do the work for themselves.
Right. Rescuing someone by shielding them from the consequences of their choices actually makes it more likely they'll drown in their problems. You have to let people learn from life.
The story about Chris's brother refusing a loan for the failing restaurant is so painful, but so powerful.
It was super painful, but that refusal forced Chris to hit rock bottom, which led him to face his dependency and get into recovery. Sometimes, let them struggle is the most compassionate thing you can do.
So support isn't doing the work for them, it's creating an environment for healing.
Exactly. Dropping off food, cleaning, running errands. It's saying, I believe in you and I'm here when you're ready. Let me create the environment they need.
Okay, let's turn to the final frontier, love and heartbreak.
The theory applies directly to dating. The simple truth is, people choose who they love, and sometimes they won't choose you.
And we fall into the trap of chasing potential. We convince ourselves something is happening when it's clearly not.
The metric is so simple and undeniable. If they like you, you'll know. If they don't, you'll be chronically confused.
Confusion is the signal that you're ignoring reality.
So you have to let them text nonstop without making plans. Let them reveal who they are through their actions. The painful part is the let me acceptance. Let me be honest with myself that I'm not a priority and walk away.
And for long-term relationships, there's the standoff, the chronic issues that never change.
This is where Dr. John Gottman's research is key. 69% of relationship problems are non-resolvable. They are perpetual problems. You cannot solve them.
Continuing to fight over them is just insanity.
So you have to make a choice. The book is very stark here. Step E, end your bitching or the relationship. If you say, you must choose them exactly as they are and end the constant complaining.
Like with Chris accepting her ADHD and chaos, he chooses her because everything else trounces the annoyances.
That intentional acceptance is what makes it work.
And finally, surviving heartbreak. The book frames it as grief. The life you thought you'd live has died.
And you have to go through the pain, not around it. The book gives really actionable advice for that 3-month healing process. 30 days, no contact, mandatory. Remove all the environmental triggers, give your bedroom a small makeover, fill your calendar.
And in the game-changing question, if you knew the love of your life was around the corner, how would you spend your single time?
It shifts your focus from mourning the past to building the future. And the final truth is, you are the love of your life. A relationship doesn't make you worthy of love, your existence does.
As we wrap up this deep dive, you have to really calculate the cost of inaction.
Think about all the time and energy spent resisting reality, obsessing over a long line, waiting for a text, wanting your family to change. That's time stolen from pursuing what actually matters.
That's the cost of not using Let Them. And conversely, think about the missed opportunities of the book you never wrote, the risk you never took all because you were afraid of judgment. That's the cost of not using Let Me.
The fundamental liberation of this theory is knowing that others can say and do what they want, but you remain unbothered because you have secured your own emotional footing. You get to choose where you pour your energy. That choice is power.
You've always had control, charge, and power over your own destiny. Now it's time to take it back. I welcome you to your Let Me era. Let me get started. Let me take a necessary risk. Let me be honest about what I genuinely want.
So, based on what we've learned today about that 69% of relationship problems that are not resolvable, I want you to identify one of those non-resolvable traits you have been obsessively trying to change in someone you love. And this week, what intentional action will you take to fully, genuinely accept it?
Thank you for sharing your book material for this deep dive. We hope you feel armed and ready to embrace your power.